we will chant together a mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May God protect us all. May God nourish us with knowledge and wisdom. May we grow in understanding and love. May there be no discord among us. May there be peace within and everywhere. Om. Amen. I humbly bow to one formless God who is omnipresent. I bow to all the saints and sages and the lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. I bow to Sri Gurudev, Sri Guruji and all of you as the living presence of God. Good morning and welcome back for our discussion on this theme, River of Compassion, Life of a Yogi. We started our discussion yesterday with the verse from Bhagavad Gita, and then we were discussing a sutra from Yoga Sutra of Sage Patanjali. In that sutra, it is said, Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Apunya Bhavanata Chitta Prasadanartha. So, to purify our mind, as a yogi, we have to practice the different attitudes in different situations. Of course, with our Kriya practice, with our regular meditation, we are purifying our mind. But only when we are meditating, we are going beyond all emotions, all kinds of actions. But when we live in this world, we have to perform action, whether it is voluntary or involuntary. So when we perform action, we get result. But facing different types of situations in our day-to-day life, we need to know also that in what situation, what should be our attitude. And this is what Sage Patanjali is guiding us here through this sutra. So we discussed yesterday the first attitude, Maitri Sukheshu. Maitri Sukheshu, we discussed that in the event or in situation of happiness, we should keep the attitude of friendliness. That whenever we see people are cheerful, happy, we should have always this friendliness, have their company, share your happiness with them, share their happiness with yourself. So we inspire, motivate each other in such a good environment. So this is Maitri Sukheshu. In friendship, people move together. They love each other unconditionally. As we discussed yesterday in the story of Lord Krishna with his friend Sudama, in true friendship, there is no expectation except we want to make each other happy. In true friendship, there is no complaint. Do you know what is the friendship? If you want to understand what friendship means, in our body we have two eyes, right? The two eyes, they blink together. Can you blink one eye only? They blink together. They move together. Wherever we are going, both the eyes go together with us. And both eyes, they cry together. It's not possible that with one eye you are only crying. So they cry together and they see things together, and then they also sleep together. But the beauty is that both eyes, they are doing everything together, but they have never seen each other. Like in the mirror you see yourself, but one eye is not able to see other one. So friendship is like that. In friendship, everything is done together, even if we have not seen or if we have not been physically present with our friend, but that feeling is there. However, so Maitri Sukheshu, when there is friendship, there is also joy. So in joyful situation, happiness, attitude of friendliness. Friends do not complain, and friends understand each other's emotion. More than 500 years ago, there is incarnation of Lord Krishna in the district of Nadia in West Bengal. And we address him, or he is well known as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who started this bhakti movement, the path of devotion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from his life, I'll tell you one incident. He was with one of his friend who was financially not so good. And both were going by boat in Ganga, river Ganga. So during that conversation, they were sharing that they wanted to write something. So on the topic of logic, Nyaya Shastra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that I have wished to write something, and his friend also said, I am also thinking about writing something on this topic of logic, some scripture. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shared he was having a manuscript, what he has already written. And remember, both were highly intellectual and good scholars. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shared that, look, what I am thinking to write. So he showed his manuscript. When the friend was reading it, he became really depressed because it was such a nice treatise or explanation. So he said that, I'm sorry, but I think I won't be able to write anything else now. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, why do you say like this? He said, because you have written such a beautiful commentary on topic of logic that nobody will read my commentary. So just listening to that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his original manuscript and threw it in Ganga river. He said, don't worry about it. You continue writing your commentary, and people will love that. Nobody will know about this incident. So this is friendship. And what happens in modern time? We are always competing with each other. And this present time, we don't want to share knowledge. Suppose there is something we have written, so we call it a copyright. So intellectual property right. However, but if you look at the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed this example that why my friend should be unhappy. So writing a manuscript is not a big deal. However, so Maitri Sukheshu, and then this verse continues about the second attitude. The second attitude is about Dukkheshu or Dukha Adishu. In the case of misery, or when we see people are miserable or suffering, what should be our attitude? So here it says Karuna Dukkheshu. Karuna means in case of miserable situation, we should keep the attitude of compassion. Shri Gurudev always referred, he said, expansion is life and contraction is death. Expansion means when we have something, we have to share, distribute it. If we have knowledge, we have to give knowledge to others. If we have wealth, we should share our wealth with others, whatever we have. Because when we share anything we have with others, then it is increased, it multiplies. And when we don't want to share anything, whether it is wealth or our knowledge or anything, then we shrink. So that is what is contraction, it is death. And in the Vishnu Puran, there is a verse in which it is said, Anabhyase Visham Vidya, that if knowledge is not practiced, then it becomes poison. If it is poison, then it's not useful anymore. So, expansion of the heart and the perception of oneself in others being the real unity, it brings the real unity. So when we say in meditation what we do, we try to feel unity with God. But to feel union with God, it's little further step. Before we experience that or come to that state of unity with divine, first we have to feel the unity with people who are around us, in front of us. If we cannot love people around us, how can we love God? So, real evolution is to expand in love, expand in knowledge. It's continuous expansion. And that is what is the life. So, when we see people who are suffering, so these are the people who are contracted. They are not able to share, they are just in their own state of mind or cocoon. So we should have compassion towards them. Yesterday we discussed dukkha and sukha. When we go away from sky, then we are in misery, and sky means God also, who is formless. So when we go from formless God away, then we suffer. And when we come closer to God, like we discussed yesterday, closer to God, God is here in the fontanelle. So closer to God, moving upward, we are in sukha or happiness. Gurudev also reminded us, many times he referred this beautiful quote, be compassionately detached. And when he said, he followed this quality of compassion in his life. And there are plenty of examples we can get from his life. You might have heard also. I remember one incident. It was back in Kolkata, in India. Some disciple called Sri Gurudev. Gurudev was here in the West at that time, visiting. So the disciple called and said that, Baba, I am in danger and I am suffering a lot because my house was on fire. So nothing is left. I need your blessing, your help. So Sri Gurudev told a monk who was next to Sri Gurudev, Gurudev said, can you please send some money to this disciple? So the monk said, fine. And little later, monk just called and verified that what happened, so he found that there was no fire. So he came back in the evening. Sri Gurudev asked our monk that, Baba, did you send the money to this disciple? And he said, Baba, there was no fire and he was just telling a lie. So Gurudev said, I know that he is telling lie, but still you send money. So he was having a doubt that why? Because a person telling lie and still Gurudev wants to send money. Gurudev said that in future, nobody should say that a disciple asked for something from his guru and guru denied. Guru declined to give anything, so guru is always compassionate. Knowing that we commit mistake, knowing that we did not tell the truth, still, guru is not showing any discrimination, is always keeping this attitude of compassion. So it's not that we are promoting that we should do like that, but see the life of realized masters. We are talking about the river of compassion. This is river of compassion, knowing that this is not true or still. Gurudev did not say, it's okay. If someone is doing something, person has to go through the experience of his or her own karma, but still as a guru, what is his duty? To remain compassionate towards every living being in this creation. Yesterday we discussed that so long as we have a small trace of hatred or dislike, forget about realization. It is not possible unless we have that trace. So, Karuna Dukkha Adishu, when Shri Gurudev said, be compassionately detached. Sometimes people ask, what is the meaning of this compassionately detached? A simple example, suppose a doctor has to perform a surgery. So the doctor should be attached or detached at that time? Doctor has to be completely detached because he just treats the patient as a patient. Even if his own relative is there, the doctor will have the attitude of detachment because as a doctor he will perform his duty, not as a relative or friend. So at that time he has compassion. A doctor has compassion that if patient is there, so it is my duty to treat the patient. So he is completely detached and he is compassionate. He is not cruel. He is not, avoiding the patient. However, in a seeker's life, moments of suffering may arise, but be compassionately detached. And look, we all have to go through both. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we go through misery. So it is good to follow this approach, be compassionate. Very similar quality we also read about. We know compassion. Looking at the misery of other people, we feel their pain. But there is another quality we call empathy, which is very close to this. Empathy is little one step further. In empathy, what we do? We put ourselves in the place of the person who is suffering. In compassion, we see from distance and feel the pain. But here in empathy, we put ourselves in position of that person and feel that how difficult or miserable the situation could be. There's a beautiful story. I had read this story during my job, and it was when I was training my team of engineers. So during the motivational classes, I used to use this story also. The story is that there was a farmer, and he had some puppies. And he wanted to sell, because keeping all the puppies he did not need it, so he wanted to sell these puppies. So he painted a signboard to advertise about the 4 pups. And he was just ready to nail this advertising board on one pole. So when he was putting the last nail, he found that somebody was trying to draw his attention by pulling his trouser. So he looked down and he found there was a little boy. So looking at the little boy, he said, yes, what can I do? So this little boy said that I want to buy 1 puppy. So this farmer looked at him and he said that these puppies or this lot is from a very fine race. They're from very good dog. So they are very costly. I don't think you'll be able to afford it. So the boy was a little sad. Then he put his hand into his pocket, took out some pennies, some coins, and he said that, I have some coins, but can I have a look at these puppies? So farmer looked at his hand and he found there were 39 cents only. So he said, sure, you can look at these puppies. And then the farmer, he whistled. And with the sound of whistle, they saw from the dog house a dog. He said, here is Dolly. So the dog is coming. So there was a ramp, a dog house, and there was a ramp. So this little boy is watching from the fence. The dog is coming through the ramp. And then 4 little fur balls, they were rolling behind this dog. So they were coming closer. The boy was really amazed to see. And as he was looking at these puppies and dog coming towards him, suddenly he noticed inside the dog house there was something stirring. And then he found that there was another fur. It was over the ramp and hobbling. So he looked at them, then with great difficulty, trying to catch the other puppies. There was a little puppy coming behind them. When he looked at this puppy, this little boy told the farmer, I want to buy this one. And farmer said, my son, you don't want to buy that because this puppy cannot walk. It will not be able to run at all, and you will not be able to play with him like you can play with others. So he said, no, but I want to buy this one. So why do you want to have this puppy when you can have a good one in the same amount of money? The boy did not say anything, but he just pushed himself behind this fence and pulled his trouser. And what the farmer saw, that this boy had a brace. And then the boy said, this little boy said, that I want to buy this puppy only because he needs to understand. I don't also have a leg because of my hip problem. A brace is there. So I can understand and he can understand me. This is what is compassion or empathy, you can say. That we can feel the pain of others. And just think about this little boy who was hardly 12 years old. If he could feel the pain of this little puppy, why can't we? When we see people suffering around us, what is really our attitude? We just ignore people, or sometimes we tell it is their karma. We also say, and it is true, it is their karma, but is it not our duty to do something for them? Simultaneously, just telling it is their karma is fine, but at the same time, it is also our duty to do something to alleviate their pain, if we can. Or at least we can talk to the person, we can share some good words of motivation, that much we can do. So, when we see in situations when people are suffering, let's develop this compassion. And when this little boy asked, I want this puppy, farmers, and he asked, at the end he asked that how much do I owe you? And farmer said, nothing, because there is no charge for love. There is no charge for love. And this is what we need to understand. You know, when we look about compassion, even not only human being, in animals also you'll find, animals also are having more compassion than human being. And I don't know whether you have seen any cow in our ashram, Temple of Compassion in Texas. You can go, we have I think 18 or 19 cows, indigenous cows. You can go spend time with them. They're very friendly. And you can see in the eyes of the cow, you'll find compassion there. But not in all the animals you'll see. In the eyes of cat, you'll see cunningness. In each animal is different, but most compassionate is the cow. And that's why in India, we don't consider cow as animal, we consider cow as the mother. There are several scientific reasons behind that. Why? However, I remember another story that when we see someone who is suffering and feel we should help that person out. It was also about a boy. This story is, I think, from here in the West. This little boy who was poor and he was selling some goods from door to door so that he could pay for his education. And one day he was feeling very weak because he was hungry, thirsty, he was not having food for 2 days. So when he was selling goods, when he was feeling that as if he was going to faint, he decided that next door when he would go, he would ask for some food. Usually it's not the practice, but he decided. So he knocked at the door and a young lady came, a young girl came, and looking at her, he completely forgot to ask for food. Rather he asked, can I have a cup of water please? So she said, of course, but this condition of boy, anybody could see that he was hungry, tired. So when she came, she brought, instead of water, she brought a cup of milk. He said, you seem to be very hungry and tired. Take this cup of milk and be happy. So he drank milk and then he asked that how much I should pay for it. And she said, you don't need to pay anything. You are hungry, so it's my duty. My mother has taught that if someone is in distress or misery, we should help as much as possible. So I can afford to provide you 1 cup of milk. Just take it. This boy thanked her from the bottom of his heart and left. And he continued his studies. Many years passed. And then this name of this boy, he became a very famous doctor, Howard Kelly. Then it says that after many years, one day this doctor was in his office and he got a report that a lady was admitted and she had some disease which was a very peculiar disease. She was suffering, and looking at this report, he could understand that this is not an ordinary case. But when he saw the address and name, suddenly he remembered this little girl, young girl, when he was a boy selling goods from door to door. So he did not say anything. He immediately went to the operation room and he treated this lady. From his own, out of his own interest, he paid special attention. He took care of this lady and slowly she recovered. After recovery, the doctor had told his office that please don't send the invoice or bills to her, send it to me for approval. And when bills came to the doctor, he went through, and then at the end he put his signature and with a small note was there. When this bill came to this lady who was discharged from the hospital, she was thinking that all my life I have to pay these bills because medical treatment is very expensive here. So she was really worried and thinking, what should I do? But when she opened the bills and when she went through, down she found the signature and there was a small note. And in the note it was written, paid in full with a cup of milk. Paid in full with a cup of milk. Dr. Howard Kelly. This is what is compassion. Look, it was not a big deal. When he asked for a cup of water, anybody, what would we do? We'll just provide a cup of water, that's all. But going beyond feeling the pain, feeling the thirst or hunger, she said, it is my duty to give you some food, so have it. This is the attitude of karuna or attitude of compassion. When we see people suffering, we should extend our help. We should do whatever we can. And if we cannot do anything, as I said, at least we can offer some comforting words, some consolation. That don't worry, things will change. Even that few words also help other people to be free from their state of misery. So, there is a beautiful quote in the Holy Bible. It is in the Gospel of Luke, 6th chapter, 36th passage. You must be compassionate just as your Father is compassionate. You know what happens in our life, when we see people suffering, we forget. But when we suffer, we always expect that other people should understand or help us. So this quote reminds us that our Father means God, who is always compassionate. Just like I gave the example of Sri Gurudev, God is compassionate. Does God discriminate? Does God tell that you did something wrong, so I will not help you? He does not. Because for God, we all are children of God and all the children are same. So if God does not discriminate, if God is always compassionate, if God is always forgiving, who are we to discriminate? And if we are children of God, why can't we just follow that quality of God? We inherit the qualities from our parents, then why can't we do that? When we face those situations, we forget this. And this is why Sej Patanjali is reminding us that don't forget, this is the attitude in this situation. However, so this is karuna or compassion. Then third attitude Sej Patanjali is talking is mudita punya karmasu. Mudita means be cheerful, joyful, cheerful. In which situation? When you see punya. Punya means when you see people are virtuous, people are doing good, people are doing charity. So should we be jealous of them? Answer is no. Our attitude should be very appreciative. Look, such a person. So we appreciate that at least this person is doing something good. So mudita punya karmasu. If someone is doing some good deeds, we should feel joy. We should feel happiness, cheerfulness. So this is joy, pleasure and cheerfulness should accompany the seeker while performing some virtuous deed or being with virtuous people. It is both way. All these attitudes are both, that when we deal with others or when we see other people dealing with us, in both situations. So similarly, when we see people are doing some good deeds, we should feel joy. And at the same time, we should wish to live with virtuous people so that we will be inspired, we'll learn from them and we'll continue that life of yogi. Live a life of encouragement and inspiration within and with others. Sometimes we are very much inspired, but we don't inspire other people. So that's why Sage is telling, do both. You be inspired, get motivated, and motivate others also at the same time. And this is what is mudita punya karmasu. Dejection or sorrow is the effect of tamasic quality. You know that our mind always fluctuates in one of these three states: Rajasic, Tamasic and Sattvic. Tamasic state means very dull, not interested in practice. And Rajasic means too much restlessness or jealousy, anger. This is Rajasic quality. And Sattvic is peace, balance, happiness. So mind does not remain in one situation. It fluctuates from one to other. Depending on each emotion, constantly our state of mind is changing. Only when we are going or entering in paravastha, after practicing all the techniques, when mind is pacified, our consciousness and mind both are elevated, we go to the state of sattvic mind, where we are in perfect balance, peace, calmness, and that we have to maintain when we are in the world. So, when we feel tamasic quality, then naturally we feel dejection, sorrow, sadness, sometimes not interested in practice at all. But here Sage is telling cheerfulness and joy are the manifestation of the sattvic quality. So be good and do good. Get joy in doing good things. It eliminates our envy. Yesterday we discussed 6 kalushya, 6 impurities of mind. So when we become cheerful or joyful, it removes our jealousy or envy with others. Because both are not possible. If you are really happy, if you are joyful, you cannot feel sadness at the same time. So when you see someone virtuous, feel how fortunate his parents are and he is following a righteous path. In this way, when you feel joy and cheerfulness in mind, your jealousy will be eliminated. So be joyful. Sometimes we forget our strength also. When we feel dejected, when we feel depressed or sorrowful, we forget our strength. Our confidence level goes down. So in those moments, don't worry. You have to again bring this attitude of mudita, cheerfulness. At that time, look at the people who are virtuous, look at the people who are joyful, cheerful, and then get motivated. it is said that there is a story that there was a king and he had many elephants. And among those elephants, one elephant was exceptionally powerful. He was very obedient, intelligent, and nobody could match his skills. So this elephant had been in countless battles and always returned victorious, bringing glory to the king. So naturally, this elephant became king's most favorite. As time passed, this elephant began to grow old and he could no longer perform as he once did. And it happens that when we grow old, our physical, mental strength slowly goes down. And one day, this elephant who was very powerful at one time, this elephant went to a lake to drink some water. So while stepping inside the lake, his foot sank into the mud. And he kept sinking further, deeper. And this elephant struggled with all his might, but he could not free himself. So hearing the distressed trumpeting, people realized that he was in danger. The news reached the king, who rushed to the spot with his men, and they tried every physical method they could think of to pull the elephant out of mud, but nothing worked. So finally, the king summoned his most intelligent minister, and minister looked at the situation, and then he suggested something very unusual. Minister told that we need to beat the drums around this lake, and those drums which are used in war or battles. So everyone was puzzled that there is no battle here, so why should we beat the drum? Then minister said, do it. So his order was followed, and when these war or battle drums were beaten around this elephant, suddenly there was a change. This elephant started moving little bit, and with all his might, he was able to pull himself out of mud. So this is sometimes it happens that when we go through sorrowful state or dejection, then we forget our strength. Then someone has to remind us. So not to be in that situation. The lesson is that when enthusiasm awakens in the mind, energy naturally rises in the body, age becomes irrelevant, so strength returns. Positive thinking is something which makes the human truly human being. And it is what carries him to his destination. That's why sage is telling here to keep this attitude of mudita or cheerfulness. Because if we are not cheerful, then even we have the strength, we have the skills, but we forget about that. So if we someone who is cheerful, then we should be appreciative, joyful. Then it comes to the last, the fourth one, upeksha apunya karmasu. So indifference towards vices and viciousness. So if we face a situation, or if we are in that situation where we commit some mistake, or we see people who are committing mistake or people are suffering, so it is not a virtuous case. So upeksha, what is the attitude? Upeksha means ignore it. Ignore their mistakes. Don't count or don't point their mistakes out unless they ask for help, that can you help me? Otherwise, not to look at the mistake of others, it's better to ignore it. Ignore means you can give advice, but not to criticize, not to put the other people down because of their karma. So this is upeksha apunya karmasu. The mind ordinarily is vicious and attracted to vices. Human mind, I'll compare human mind with water. What is the tendency of water? If you take some water and just pour it, it will go down. It will not move up unless some force is applied. So the natural tendency of water is to flow down. So also the mind is like water. The natural tendency of mind is to flow down. Down means towards the lower chakra or towards the negativity. It's quite natural. That's why it takes a lot of effort to elevate the state of mind. Lot of sadhana or practice is needed. A seeker uses the rein of intellect to refrain from such moods of vices. While being in the world among people, we should not develop dislikes and critical attitudes towards people who are doing wrong and commit mistakes. But it is very often, when we see people commit mistake, we don't hesitate to criticize immediately because we are very judgmental. So without going into details even or inquiry, we just give a comment. So not to criticize when we see the vices of other people, or not to develop even dislike. Sometimes out of joke we say, but even in jokes, a yogi is not going to tell anything which is not good. So there is a saying that a sinner of today is the saint of tomorrow. We never know. I'll tell you one interesting thing about this saying, a sinner of today is the saint of tomorrow. Because everything is changing. With our effort, we can transform our life anytime. Every breath, every moment is an opportunity for bringing transformation. And as we were discussing about the mind also, mind as we call chitta in Sanskrit. So mind you can compare with a screen. Suppose when you project some pictures on a screen, so each moment the picture is changing. Like one picture and then another picture, like that, a movie scene. So on the screen remains constant, but the pictures are changing because of the light. Similarly, our mind or chitta is like a screen. On this screen, various impressions are manifested and then they are disappearing. They are appearing and disappearing, just like the pictures. And what are those impressions? These are the impressions called samskara from our memory. So on the lake or on the screen of our chitta, we never know which samskara, which impression can appear, and it will also disappear sometime, but which will appear and put you down or it will take you up. There is no guarantee. That's why in the life of many people, especially even in spiritual people, you'll find that somebody is very famous, somebody is really virtuous, good, charitable, very highly elevated, and suddenly we hear, oh, this person, how could this person commit a mistake? There's downfall. Or sometimes we hear a person who has committed so many mistakes or even heinous crimes, and we hear that person has become completely different, elevated soul. So we never know which impression is going to arise on this screen, and it is just the play of consciousness. It's the play, impressions are one after the other, they are arising and they are affecting our state of mind, and according to that we are taking action. So we should be indifferent there. Just watch. Upeksha. Here also, you just remain indifferent and just watch this play. Don't get blown up into that play. Otherwise, we become part of that and we suffer. So just have this attitude, you watch. So be indifferent. So here it is said indifference towards the vices of others, but the metaphorical meaning here that be indifferent towards the samskaras or impression which are coming and going on the lake of your mind. Don't get too much attached to those. So be a witness to those, observer. That is what is the life of yogi. Ordinary person is getting affected with these impressions, and then we go through all these karma and then result of the karma. But a yogi is constantly watching. A yogi does not like anything, he does not dislike anything. A yogi remains in center. He remains balanced. A yogi remains as a witness. He is not affected by all these ups and downs of impressions which are moving. He knows that these are not the real life, these are just, and he is not getting dejected also when some impression which is putting him or her down. Just watch, it will also go away, it will pass away. If you can, so develop the attitude of indifference in such situations where you fail to help. Because there are situations you can help others, but if you cannot help, so don't criticize at least, but try to develop this attitude to remain indifferent. It's okay, I will still pray from distance if I cannot help you. If you can help others to improve their lives, when a negative thought arises within, be indifferent and then you will be free from that thought. But if you are not indifferent, then you will be affected by that thought, then we'll have to go through misery. If a person tells some harsh words or insults you, then think this person is harming himself, and why should I pollute my mind by creating hatred or dislike for him? Okay? Whatever person is doing is, we have no control over that, but at least I should not pollute my mind by thinking bad of that person or disliking or hating that person. So this is indifferent. Remain indifferent with that person. He'll have to suffer for his own karma. We don't need to say anything. It is, each one is responsible for their own karma. So in this way, when we remain indifferent, then we become free from hatred and anger. Because these attitudes also address those 6 impurities of mind we discussed yesterday. It is very easy to criticize, very easy to find fault with others, but it is very difficult to improve. So I'll tell you another story about it. It is the story of a painter. You might have heard before. There was a painter, so he completed his diploma course, like 3 years. He really did good. After completing his course, he had a desire to know that what his skills are, how he is going to help, or how people react to his paintings. So he took 3 days and painted a very beautiful scenery. And then he wanted people's opinion about his skills, about his painting. So he took this painting on a very busy street, put it there so that people could see, and below this painting he put a signboard, a whiteboard, and he wrote that I am new in this profession, I might have committed some mistakes while painting, so please put a cross. Wherever you see a mistake in this painting, put a cross. And while he came back to collect his painting in the evening, he was really dejected to see that the whole painting was full of cross. People had made so many crosses, and he was really dejected. He felt that I am no more useful. What I learnt is nothing. Because if I committed so many mistakes, I am not a painter even. So he was really disheartened, and he went to his teacher and told that I am so sorry that I could not learn anything. I am not a good painter. So his teacher appreciated, look, you are a good painter, but why you are talking like this? Then he explained. So his teacher said, don't worry, I can change you. You are still a good painter, and I will prove it. So his teacher told him to again paint the same painting, to make another painting, a replica of the same painting. And so he took 2 more days, and he created this replica of same scenery. His teacher took him on the same busy street, same square, and then he put it there. But this time, another board was there and it was written. So teacher told him to write. And what was written? That I am same thing, that I am new in this profession. I might have committed many mistakes. So any one of you who find the mistake in painting, I have kept the paint and paintbrush. So please correct it. And when he came back in the evening, there was not a single correction. And they say that this painting was there for 1 month without any correction. So this is the example. It is very easy to point out that this is your mistake, but it is very difficult to improve or tell that this is the correction. So just like the painting, nobody is bothered about correction. Everybody is bothered about criticizing, finding fault in others. Sri Guruji has written a beautiful series of books, small booklets every time it is during the Christmas time. He is publishing one book. So it's a series, I think 10 or 11 already there. Like freedom from fault finding nature, freedom from misery, freedom from gossiping, like that. So very thin booklets, but very useful for everybody. However, so ignore the mistakes of others. This is upekshanam apunya. If somebody is not virtuous or somebody has having some vices or mistakes, ignore it. Why to pollute our mind? Why to waste our energy and time in criticizing or disliking others? Because we are creating poison in our mind. So be indifferent with that. And even when something is not happening right in our own mind, be indifferent and try to improve on that. Not that I am bad, because that is also this attitude that when we say ourselves that we are bad, we become like that. Because what we think, we become. So, like this painting, look, we are human beings, we may commit mistake, but it is our duty to constantly watch and improve upon those mistakes. So, we discussed yesterday 6 types of impurities. I'll just repeat those. 6 kalushya, which was raga kalushya, attachment, irshya, jealousy, parapakara chikirsha, that is talking bad about others, dvesha, hatred, asuya, anger, amarsha, intolerance or taking revenge. So these are all impurities of our mind. When we meditate, we are trying to get rid of these impurities. But when we come back to the world, we get influenced by all those impressions from others. So at that time, when we are not meditating, but we are in dealing with other people, remember these 4 attitudes. Maitri, Sukheshu. When you see people are joyful, people are happy, then be friendly, have this attitude of friendliness. When you see people who are suffering, so have compassion towards them. When you see people are virtuous, doing good deeds, then appreciate them. When you see people are having some mistakes, then instead of criticizing, be indifferent towards, not towards the person. Don't be indifferent towards the person. Indifference towards the mistakes. Because indifference towards the person is not compassion. It is just opposite. It is our duty to help others. So these are the 4 attitudes in 4 situations when we are dealing with people in our day-to-day life. When we are meditating, we are perfectly fine. We are perfectly divine. But when we come out of meditation, we are the same person. So there we need to follow these attitudes. So remind yourself again and again, and this will help us to live the life of a yogi. And life of a yogi is the river of compassion, as we discussed yesterday. So in this way, with these 4-fold attitudes, yogi's mind becomes free from vices or painful vrittis arising due to rajas and tamas qualities, and our sattvic quality increases. It is manifested more in our life. So these are the 4 attitudes which will help us. You can also find many of these qualities in another verse in Bhagavad Gita. It is in the 16th chapter. 16th chapter is about Deva Asur Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, the treasure of divine and devilish qualities. So there are 26 qualities are mentioned. There you can find this word also, ahimsa, satyam, akrodha, tyaga, shanti, apaishunam, daya, bhuteshvaloluptvam, mardavam, hrira chapalam. So daya, the compassion also is mentioned there as the divine quality. So be compassionate and kind to others and be strict to your own self as God is abiding in all the living beings. What happens in our life? We are very kind to ourselves and we are very tough with other people, critical, tough, judgmental. But it should be opposite. We should be very strict with ourselves and we should be kind to other people. This is what I heard when I was in college. My spiritual mentor told me one day that if you want to be a yogi, exact same word he said, if you want to be a yogi, then be strict to yourself and be kind to others. And we are just opposite. So we have to change this scale, be kind to others. Then only we can say we are yogi. And when we are compassionate, our life is really, we are more closer to God. But when we don't love people unconditionally, when we are criticizing, we go away from God. We are not happy within. If you read the Valmiki Ramayana, you can find this story of sage Valmiki. He was a murderer. He was not a good person, committed many vices, but he became a realized master, a saint. How this transformation took place? That person who killed many people, the same person, there is a story, not story, but how he transformed his life. When he was looking at the birds at one time, meditating, he changed his life, he was meditating, and then he saw a hunter shooting arrows at the birds, and one of the birds fell down, injured. And then from his heart this poetry came. Ma nishad pratishtatvam. Oh hunter, how could you kill a person? The same person who had no mercy, no problem in killing other people, same person transformed, that just feeling the pain of bird, this poetry came from his heart. And after that he wrote this whole Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana also. So this is the transformation, the life of a yogi, life of, or you can say, river of compassion. Do we want to be a river of compassion or we want to be an ordinary person? If you want to be a yogi, then first thing we have to develop this compassion. There is a lot of suffering in this world. As a teacher, I'm seeing for all these decades of traveling, teaching, you cannot imagine that how many different types of suffering people are having. We know only few, but I see a lot. So people need our help, people need our compassion. Let us make this world as the real heaven or paradise. Because God has given us paradise and we have transformed it into something I don't want to say. So let us try these 4 attitudes. Remember, try to follow, practice it and be a yogi. This is the message from the life of Sri Gurudev. We call him the incarnation of compassion. Okay, so let us close the eyes. We'll pray for everyone in this creation. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble and compassionate. May there be no suffering, no sorrow. May there be more love, peace and harmony among all of us and in this entire creation. May the blessings of God and Masters, blessings of Sri Gurudev, Sri Guruji be upon us all. Om. Amen. Thank you. I bow to God in all of you.